Minasan konnichiwa und willkommen. And today is a very special tribute. A tribute to probably one of the greatest voice actors who have ever lived. And that's legendary voice actor Mel Blanc. Melvin Jerome Blanc was born on May 30th, 1908. And he died on July 10th, 1989. My heart goes out to his family and fellow voice actors like Stan Freberg and June Foray. The latter is still alive, of course, as I'm filming this video. Mel Blanc, in many people's eyes and ears, was and still is what they called the man of 1,000 voices. I tell you, the dude's work is fucking legendary. I tell you, there's no other voice actor quite like Mel Blanc. Well, maybe Frank Welker. That Japanese voice actor Koichi Yamadera. Among many others. Then fellow voice actor Paul Frees. Mel Blanc started radio work in roughly around the late 20s, early 30s. And he appeared on various radio shows, including the Jack Benny Show. I'm not even kidding. He started out on radio before he even did cartoon work. And of course, by 1930, when 1937 came around, Mel got his first cartoon assignment. When he was voicing a hiccuping bull. And I'm not gonna lie to you, dude, it was a very intriguing cartoon at that time, even though it was shot in black and white. Because in 1937, he started voicing Porky Pig. After his original voice actor quit. And Porky Pig's signature catchphrase was, and still is, yee, that's all, folks. He became a huge cartoon star in the late 1930s, along with Daffy Duck, voiced by the same guy. Then when 1940 came around, he started voicing Bugs Bunny in his very first cartoon short, A Wild Hare, co-starring Elmer J. Fudd, voiced by Arthur Q. Bryan. And Bugs Bunny instantly became the most popular Looney Tunes character to date, ever since 1940. And one of his signature catchphrases is, yeah, what's up, Doc? That's right. Their rivalry lasted over 30 cartoons in over 20 years. Well, almost 30 years before Arthur Q. Bryan's death in 1959. Thus, and I believe around 1942, Mel Blanc did something that no other voice actor did at the time. Get sole screen credit. Because he was under exclusive contract by Warner Brothers at the time. You know, the studio that made such great classics like The Adventures of Robin Hood, My Fair Lady, L.A. Confidential, etc. In fact, Mel Blanc had voiced a shit ton of characters for the studio, including Tweety, Sylvester, Yosemite Sam, among various others. Yes, even Foghorn Leghorn. He even voiced frickin' Wile E. Coyote himself with an upper-class English accent. Then by around 1961, Mel Blanc had a near-fatal car accident that almost killed him. But he managed to survive that impact. I tell you, that takes balls to do that. Because in the 1960s, he started doing voice work for Hanna-Barbera. You know, which was founded by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. But I'll talk about those two great animation legends in a different video. Right now, I just want to focus on Mel Blanc. Because he started doing voices for that studio. Like Barney Rubble from the Flintstones, Mr. Spacely from the Jetsons, the title character from Secret Squirrel. And you know the drill. Where he worked with other great Hanna-Barbera voice actors like Daws Butler and Don Messick. When the 1970s rolled around, he did that one great Chuck Jones classic called A Very Merry Cricket, which had Mel Blanc as both the little rodent and the cat who tried to eat him. And Les Tremayne voiced both the cat pal of the rodent and the cricket. You know, Chester C. Cricket. They don't really hate children, but it doesn't seem right to sing "Joy to the Wild" and then start a fight. Right on. Chester C. Cricket. He's just what we need to straighten out this Christmas mess. You, it is to laugh too. You wouldn't even make a decent toothpick. I was insulted again. Around the same decade, he started voicing that vehicle in that Speed Buggy cartoon, which I forgot to mention in all three of the rant videos, in which Frank Welker would take over in 1997, which was 8 years after Mel Blanc's death. But we'll talk about that as we go along in the video. And when the 1980s rolled around, the last cartoon character Mel Blanc ever voiced was Heathcliff. I'm not making this up. And of course, there were 3 different Heathcliff shows on around that time period. Heathcliff and Marmaduke, Heathcliff and Dingbat, and the ever popular Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats. And I actually mimicked Heathcliff in one of the impersonation videos. And let's go back to the 50s, when Mel Blanc's vinyl records were so freaking popular. Because I actually saw that part in the Mel Blanc documentary. And I tell you, Mel Blanc has touched Mel Blanc have touched a lot of people's lives, including mine. He truly was and still is such an inspiration to actually help me get into voice acting. Then fellow voice actor Frank Welker. But I'll talk about him in a different video. That's right, Mel Blanc was known as the man of 1,000 voices. Paul Frees has that distinction too. Then in 1988, he reprised many of his different voices for the for the 1988 Robert Zemeckis film noir classic Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And then 1 year later, Mel Blanc and his son Noel have done an automobile commercial. Sadly, that commercial would be Mel Blanc's final performance. That's right. His death, he died on July 10th, 1989. From some kind of disease or something. I don't know what it is, but if you want to look up the more technical details, just look it up on the internet. Because around that time, when Blanc's death occurred, someone made a drawing of several Looney Tunes characters looking so sad at the loss of the guy who voiced them all. And it said speechless. And the last film that Blanc did before his death was Jetsons the Movie, which came out in 1990. Which was also dedicated to the memory of fellow voice actor George O'Hanlon, the guy who voiced George Jetson in the cartoon. So the movie was dedicated to both of their memories. Because after Blanc's death, many other voice actors have assumed the roles. You know, like Billy West, Jeff Bergman, Greg Bernson, whose death occurred 19 years later. D. Bradley Baker, Jim Cummings, etc. Sure, they sound alright, but nothing can top Mel Blanc. Because that dude's work is so legendary and so extensive. And a lot of people are still talking about him long after he's gone. Okay, enough for the tribute video for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, comment. And as always, amigos, au revoir und auf Wiedersehen.